Authenticity, in my experience, is one of the most difficult feelings to capture. But once you feel it, once it's radiating inside of you, it changes everything. It's like a strong force that emanates out of you that other people can sense. And it has this beautiful ability to attract the people that you want to keep in your life and to repel the people that you want to keep away from you. You don't even have to expend any effort. You're just being yourself. And I know you've been given that advice. Be yourself. Like, you're like, okay, what self am I being? Like, what? I don't know what that means. I don't know how to execute that advice. Thank you. My goal in every social interaction is to radiate authenticity. It was something I started doing by accident, and then I realized like, oh, I have this like warmth inside of me. I have this energy that when I'm in the zone, I feel it. I feel this this comfort, and I am so myself around these people in this situation that nothing can bother me. I'm not overthinking what I'm saying. I'm just being me. It's so freeing and beautiful. And I, for the longest time, couldn't figure out how to control that feeling. How do I bring it in? It just sort of appeared whenever I was feeling good in my circumstances, feeling good in my life. And I wanted to figure out how I can embody it at will. If you're new here, my name is Charlotte, and I make videos for people who want to get out of their own damn way. We talk about tools and strategies to help you start building the life of your dreams. So if that's something that resonates with you, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you, and leave a comment and let me know what you're working on in your life. Today, we're going to talk about what it means to actually be authentic and to be your authentic self, and how you can go about calling in that authenticity and embodying it in everyday experiences. I feel like authenticity is difficult to describe. For me, I have this calm knowing in my body. I feel at peace. I feel at ease. I'm not putting on any sort of facade. There's a harmony that is existing within me that I want to radiate out to other people. Someone could say the most vile thing to me and be like, whatever. Like, it doesn't bother me because things are feeling effortless, and I'm feeling almost this internal warmth within myself. And that is when I know I am embodying my most authentic self. It's a calm knowing. It's a quiet confidence that's coming from within me. It almost feels like this. You know when you have a fever and you have this like bone chilling cold, it's coming from inside of you. It's not like something external like the weather making you cold. It is an internal coldness that you just can't seem to make warm. It's almost the opposite with authenticity. It's this warmth that is coming from deep inside of me that no one can come in and extinguish. It's not something that will go away unless I'm the one making it go away. It's happening in my body and my mind. And in that sense, I like to think of authenticity as this body armor against really terrible people that you don't want anywhere near you. Because if you're emanating this authentic, harmonious warmth, and they're trying to come in with their daggers and swords and trying to permeate that barrier, they're not gonna be able to get in. You're just gonna be like, I don't want anything to do with that. No, I'm emanating warmth over here. Thank you. It's alignment between your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. They're all working in harmony. There's no friction there. You're not thinking about, oh, I want to talk about this topic, but I'm worried they're going to come off and think this and that. Like, you're not over analyzing anything. You're going with your gut. You're sort of just allowing yourself to exist in the space that you are currently in. And it feels harmonious. Everything feels easy. You're flowing. You're not overly self-conscious. You're not having social anxiety. You're just allowing yourself to exist. I'm not second guessing myself. I'm not worried about how I'm gonna be received by others. Think about when you're singing in the car. No one's with you. You're just belting it out to a song you really like. You're feeling so good. Like, you're feeling free. That is your authentic self. You're allowing yourself to just exist however you want. You're not worried about being watched. You're not worried about how you're being perceived. It's all very effortless. It's a moment of connection with your feelings. It's joyful. That is what authenticity means to me. It sounds lovely, doesn't it? So here's how I've been getting in touch with my authenticity. The first thing I did was I recalled times in my life where I felt like I was embodying that authenticity. I can think of several social interactions where I'm like, oh yeah, I was in the zone. Like, I was myself, people were digging it, and like, I was vibing with everyone around me. There didn't feel like there was any friction. I didn't feel self-conscious at all. So ask yourself these questions. Who were you with? Where were you? What were you doing or talking about? How old were you? And even if you can only come up with like one experience 10 years ago, I want you to analyze that experience. Think about what were the conditions, what were the circumstances, what was the mindset you were in before you got, like, was something great happening in your life at that time? Did you let something go? Did you feel unburdened by something? Did you finally say, I don't care about that anymore, and you detached? Really tried to dig into what was allowing for this harmonious feeling to have your thoughts, your feelings, and your presentation or your actions all aligned, and so there was no friction. I also suggest reconnecting with some of your childhood interests. When we're young, we don't have external expectations shaping our interests. Maybe you like collecting really cool sticks, I don't know, or rocks, and then you grew up and people are like, that's weird, like, why are you doing that? And so you stopped because you wanted to be liked. That is you being inauthentic, right? You like sticks, just embrace that. And you'll find that if you're talking about this interest of yours, you're gonna feel that authenticity. And this is a really good way of practicing, of knowing what it feels like. When you're enthusiastic about something, when you're enthusiastic about the work you're doing or the topic you're talking about or the environment you're in, whatever it is, you're going to feel that authenticity because there's going to be harmony and alignment. The next thing I would say is try to find moments throughout your day where you can reduce the emotional labor in small situations. We are in environments for most of the day where we have to maintain a certain level of inauthenticity, especially in professional settings, because we don't want to overshare, we don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. And so there is going to be a small or large, depending on the environment you're in, amount of friction in how you're thinking, what you're feeling, and how you actually behave and present yourself and what you say. And so when you are in that environment, it's so easy to train yourself to not be authentic. You have to think about what you're doing and saying. You have to actually make sure you're being guarded around people because you don't entirely trust them. You didn't get to choose your coworkers, you know? And it's unfortunate, but it is a reality of our society. So what I recommend doing is finding spaces, finding moments in the day where you can release that tension and you can try to be unapologetically yourself. And this can be with a coworker you trust. See, speaking of coworkers, they're texting me right now. So that frequently looks like your work bestie, right? Your work bestie is the person that you feel aligned with and you are able to sort of put down the facade. And you could also just text a friend. You can go into the bathroom and shut the stall door and like decompress, you know? Find little ways, if you are in an environment for most of the day, to bring back that harmony. The next thing I did was I got clear on my values. So one of my values is honesty. It's just candor. I like being honest. I don't want to have to remember the white lie I told you. It just seems pointless and I don't want to do it. Most of the time I feel like we lie to people in an innocuous way to spare their feelings, or we do it to spare our feelings, like we're embarrassed about something and we're hiding it and all that stuff. And so I feel like if I am being dishonest, even in like a little white lie sort of way, I am not feeling authentic, there is friction. I can link some resources below for you to kind of figure out what your values are, but that's one thing I realized about myself. Honesty is very important to me. Let me tell you the story of how I realized this. I, again, went back to my list of like, when did you feel authentic? And I actually remembered a time where I switched from feeling inauthentic to feeling authentic in a social interaction in the moment. I was at a mixer in New York City. It's just like a casual, like get to meet people mixer. And there were these women I was talking to and I felt so uncomfortable. I was not myself. I was having trouble figuring out what to say. I was having trouble making conversation. I did not feel comfortable being there. And I felt very self-conscious. And I found myself lying at one point. I, for 4 years, was getting electrolysis done on my face. I had the beard of a 12-year-old boy. And it's gone now, but that's what I would do. I would spend an hour or 2 hours sometimes a week getting that done. And so I had mentioned like, oh yeah, I had stuff to do earlier, but I missed a different function that they asked me if I went to. And I had said, instead of saying electrolysis, I said I got a facial because they asked me what I was doing. I didn't even consciously make the decision to lie. I just sort of did it. I was gonna let it go, but then one of the women was like, oh yeah, where do you get your facials? I'm like, okay, great. All right, well, now I can either continue lying, or I can tell her the truth. And I decided to tell her the truth. I'm like, actually, it's not really a facial. I get electrolysis on my face. And she's like, what's that? Most people don't know what the heck electrolysis is. They have only ever heard of laser hair removal. I started telling her my whole story about the facial hair, about deciding to spend the money and make the investment and how to find people. And I showed her photos. It became a really good conversation. She was very interested in the actual procedure. And I immediately, once I stopped lying, once we got into a conversation about something that I'm actually passionate about, and I think electrolysis can help a lot of people, I immediately felt like I dropped into my body. I felt this harmony. I felt this authenticity. I felt in the zone, and we were vibing and we were getting along, and they really appreciated my candor. And that to me suggests that honesty and transparency are values of mine that allow me to be authentic. So ask yourself, what are your values that when you stick to those values, you will feel that immediate harmony. There will be alignment between your thoughts, your emotions, and your presentation. I also recommend experiment with new experiences, experiment with your feelings. Start with people you trust and notice how you feel around them. Notice the sensations in your body. Notice the thoughts in your head. Pay attention to what feels aligned with you. Pay attention to when you truly feel like you have dropped into yourself. If when I said recall a time where you felt like you were authentic and you're like, I can't think of a single time, I want you going forward to think about your experiences with the people around you. If you truly enjoy the person you're with, then what is it about them? What is it about the experience? Are you feeling some sort of contentment and harmony? And if you're not, what is leading to the conflict? What is leading to you feeling friction in your body? Is it emotional labor? Are you controlling for their feelings? Is this about social anxiety? Are you simply self-conscious? Is this a person you actually trust? If you trusted them, then are you really, like, why are you feeling that anxiety? What's going on? So you really need to just get very curious about your thoughts and your internal experience and use the external as sort of a cue and a marker for, okay, is that what's causing that? What is triggering this feeling inside of me in my environment right now? Are you able to feel that authenticity when you're alone? If you are alone, what are you thinking about? What are you doing? What is it that is giving you alignment and harmony? Because there's got to be something. And finally, I think what's really important is that you have to accept that there is a gray area here, that life is not black and white, and that you are going to have conflicting emotions, and you may feel in alignment, but also feel like a little anxious, and it's going to happen. You're going to ebb and flow. Like Brene Brown said, authenticity is a bunch of choices that you make every single day. And having a growth mindset when it comes to practicing authenticity, when it comes to embodying it, is very important. This is something you're playing with. We've been trained to be on guard a lot of our lives, whether we are, because we're in professional or public settings, people don't want to deal with other people in a way that makes them feel uncomfortable. It's difficult to put yourself out there. I embarrassed the crap out of myself yesterday. I said something so embarrassing on a Zoom call, but I was being myself, and it just didn't land with those people. And so I'm just like, all right, whatever. I was being myself. I tried to make a joke. It didn't land. It's fine. Move on, right? And it popped up in my head for the first 24 hours, and then we're done. It's fine. Nothing in my life changes now that I felt embarrassed. We're moving on. Ultimately, what this comes down to is just practicing, because the problem we all have with finding our authenticity is when we get into environments and around people that make us feel like who we are when we are in that aligned space is insufficient and is not going to be accepted. Ultimately, this comes down, I think it's maybe too superficial to say, but it's social anxiety. We are presenting a facsimile of who we are to people, and that is creating inauthenticity. And I find that when I'm not thinking about it, when I'm just speaking the way I speak, people find me hilarious. And I'm like, what did I say? I don't think that was very funny. I was just being honest. And they're like, you say things I'm thinking, but I would never say it. I'm like, you would never say that? I didn't think that was inappropriate. Was that inappropriate? Okay, but I'm the girl that talks to random people at a mixer about her 12-year-old boy beard. So maybe you shouldn't listen to me. I don't know. But you got to the end of the video, so thank you. I appreciate it. I'm gonna put a playlist on the screen that maybe you'll like. Please leave a comment and interact with this video. It helps me out so much, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Do you see how many tables I have here? There's so many tables. I only have 1 foot at the moment. Can only walk on 1 foot. I'm not moving all the tables. My mother likes having 4 tables.